From the viciously sneaky Bobbit Worm to a creature who lives to be a fish's tongue, here's 11 strange sea creatures that are sure to haunt your nightmares. Before we get to the video, however, we'd like to thank Eileen Bass for thanking us on our Rare Creatures That Actually Exist video. We thought that blue spider was pretty amazing as well, from a distance of course. Thanks for the support and encouragement. Everyone involved in making the video appreciates these and other such sentiments. Bobbit Worm. Imagine if everywhere you went, there was the potential to suddenly be attacked from out of nowhere by a giant worm that has just come bursting from out of the ground. Luckily, we as human beings don't currently have to deal with anything like that, unless you count the occasional snake attack. But there are animals, specifically fish and other small sea creatures, that do have to deal with that possibility, and that's all thanks to our first weird ocean creature, the Bobbit Worm. Found on the ocean floor, the Bobbit Worm buries its long body in the seabed. When a fish comes by, it jumps out and attacks, teeth first. The Bobbit Worm strikes with such speed and ferocity that, along with its razor-sharp teeth, often combine to cut prey clean in half. Yikes! Well, at least it's a quick ending. The worm's name derives from an infamous incident between Lorena and John Bobbitt. Lorena did something to John that didn't provide the latter with a quick ending. We can't get into details, so you can look it up for yourself if you don't know what we're talking about. What we can say is that John would form a band following the incident, trying to capitalize on his newfound fame. That band's name? The Severed Parts. The Gable. One of their nicknames has pretty obvious inspirations. The other, as it turns out, is a much more accurate descriptor of the gable, but at the same time, takes a little digging to understand. The penis fish, or fattening keeper worm, is a burrowing animal that is most commonly found in sand or mud. It's a marine spoonworm that is often eaten raw in Korea and can be found in traditional Chinese stir-fries. The gable in this picture are being sold at a fish market in South Korea. The U-shaped tunnels in which it burrows have a reputation for housing other creatures of a great variety, including but not limited to crabs and fish, hence its other nickname, the fat innkeeper worm. The gable creates a gross, slimy mucus in its tunnel that has to annoy the other residents. When water comes splashing in, the leftover plankton and sea particles get trapped in the mucus, creating a delicious treat for our phallic friend. Weird way to eat, but hey, we can dig it. Can you dig it? Greenland Shark. Dig this! The Greenland shark is the longest living vertebrate on Earth. Its lifespan is at least 400 years, and probably even longer. Researchers recently discovered that the sharks grow a slow and steady 1 centimeter a year, and don't fully mature until the age of 150. Nearly a century ago, they were hunted and killed in great numbers for their livers, which were used for machine oil. Luckily, a synthetic alternative stymied demand for the shark. Its meat is highly toxic thanks to the presence of TMAO, which, when ingested, makes one feel highly intoxicated. While the effects are comparable to being really drunk, it can't be very pleasant because you never hear anyone saying they want to get messed up on untreated Greenland shark. While the effects are comparable to being really drunk, it can't be very pleasant because you never hear anyone saying they want to get messed up on untreated Greenland shark meat. Despite all of this, the meat is considered a delicacy in the far north, specifically Iceland, after of course it's treated to remove the toxins and hung in strips for months to dry. Greenland sharks live deep in the ocean, which is why seeing one is rare and also why they're not more widely feared. Their dimensions are comparable to a great white's. They can grow to be over 20 feet long and exceed 2,000 pounds. Tongue-eating louse. If you haven't heard about the tongue-eating louse before now, either prepare to be freaked out of your mind or stop watching the video now. Still there? Good. The tongue-eating louse is a parasite that enters fish through their gills. Once inside the fish's mouth, it attaches itself to the creature's tongue. They sever the blood vessels, causing the tongue to fall off. Then, in one of the most horrifying procedures nature has to offer, the louse replaces the missing tongue, feeding on the fish's blood to live, though apparently doing no further damage to the host fish. Once that host dies, the tongue-eating louse detaches itself and re-enters nature, though it's unclear what happens to it after that point. Our guess? It doesn't really matter, as long as it never ends up in our mouths. Man, that thing is freaky, but now that you're fully immersed in our video, let's go deep-sea fishing with the anglerfish. Sorry folks, there isn't much in the way of fluffy happiness as far as the anglerfish is concerned. For starters, come on, just look at it. It's one of the ugliest damn things on the planet. It looks pissed off, which it probably is. After all, it lives in the deep ocean depths. And in case you haven't heard, there isn't too much down there in the way of light, creatures, or pretty much anything, but really cold water and darkness. They're low-energy animals who are forced to use ambush tactics to capture what prey they can find. Anglerfish have a fleshy growth that comes out of the top of their head. They use this to lure prey close enough to swallow them whole. Certain deep-sea anglerfish emit light from this lure. These fish can be found in waters around the world. Let's stay in the deep ocean abyss for our next creature. the Blobsculpin. This deep-sea fish, unlike our grumpy anglerfish friend, is confined to the extreme depths of the northern Pacific Ocean, from the coast of Japan all the way across to sunny California. Don't get your hopes up if you're trying to see one, though. They only reside at depths of 1,600 to 9,200 feet. Experts were shocked when they first observed adult Blobsculpin guarding nests after a female laid her eggs. That's because the Blobsculpin is the only deep-sea fish that we know of that exhibits such protective behavior towards their eggs. The Furry Lobster, one of the most recently discovered creatures in the video. This odd nightmare of a decapod was discovered in the South Pacific Ocean in 2005. The group that made that find must have been completely freaked out. At first, they didn't know what to call it, so they simply referred to it as the Yeti lobster. And really, who can blame them? That hair-looking stuff that's covering its claws is called seta. Despite its nickname, it's actually more closely related to crabs than lobsters. Alright, enough of this weird lobster. Our next sea nightmare has the biggest known eyes in the entire animal kingdom. That creature is the Colossal Squid. Those eyes can grow to be at least a foot in diameter, and can probably even be up to a foot and a half. Other sea creatures are more concerned, however, with their tentacles, which come equipped with horrifying, sharp hooks. A lot of large sea creatures like sperm whales are found with scars on their backs, and according to those in the know, the colossal squid is likely the explanation of most of these lesions. The largest single specimen ever recorded was dragged out of the waters off of Antarctica. A New Zealand fishing boat captured it and brought it back to their country. Scientists weighed it out to an incredible 1,091 pounds, with a total length of 14 feet. Now that's one big squid. And when you consider post-mortem shrinkage, it was probably even bigger than that when it was alive. Blue-ringed octopus. We wouldn't blame you for thinking your Kool-Aid's been spiked when looking at the blue-ringed octopus. Seems impossible that a creature could have such coloring naturally. But the ocean is a vast, wonderful place. Handling the blue-ringed octopus, as tempting as it may be to the curious-minded, is a very dangerous proposition, best avoided. Their venom contains tetrodotoxin, tryptamine, and a host of other stuff that's harmful to humans. If you catch a good dose of its venom, it can result in paralysis, heart failure, and blindness. If left untreated, death is a near certainty that can occur within minutes. The worst part is that there's no antivenom available. In a way, their diminutive size, of roughly half a foot in total length, can make the blue-ringed octopus easy to miss, and all the more deadly to us humans. So watch where you step if you ever find yourself in coral reefs from Japan to Australia. Of course, one of the most venomous sea creatures on the planet is in Australia. Dugong. It might be scary to see a dugong coming at you on the bottom of the ocean floor. It's a pretty big creature after all, and you're at the bottom of the ocean. So if you don't know any better, then anything could happen. But that's why Epic Wildlife is here, not just to entertain, which we try our best to do, but also to inform, so that the version of you at the bottom of the ocean, looking at an approaching dugong, does no better. There's nothing to fear in that situation, as the marine mammal, closely related to the manatee, is the only ocean creature to subsist on a diet consisting only of plant material. They walk along the bottom of the ocean, sucking up seagrass, roots included if they can get it all out of the ground. They can grow to be around 10 feet long and can weigh up to 900 pounds. There's a theory out there that the sight of one from a distance back in the day inspired one of the most popular mythical creatures there is, the mermaid. Hopefully we've introduced you to some wonderful, terrifying creatures that you didn't know about before the video. If so, then awesome. If not, our bad, we really did try though. However you feel about our effort, let us know in the comments section, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. That way you can be one of the first to see our new videos. Before you do all that though, check out our final weird, terrifying sea nightmare. The President of the Maldives. Bet y'all weren't expecting that, huh? But hey, former President Mohammed Nasheed may not live underwater, but he did spend a significant amount of time there in 2009. The Maldives government, as part of a plea for worldwide climate change action, held theirs and the world's first ever underwater cabinet meeting. The meeting was all in good fun, though the message it was supposed to send was anything but. The Maldives is home to over 350,000 people who live on nearly 1,200 islands. The average distance above sea level for these residents is just over 2 meters, and many fear that the archipelago could be submerged in the not too distant future.